UGC NET exam is just round the corner. Given the vast syllabus that it has, it can feel quite overwhelming to cover and revise the last strands to ace the exam. If you are feeling overwhelmed by the vast syllabus, then don't worry, you're in the right place. In this video, I'll walk you through the top 10 frequently asked questions in UGC NET English exam. Not only will uncover these key topics based on past papers, but I'll also provide you the strategies which will help you revise smarter and not harder. By the end of this video, you will have a clear plan to confidently tackle these questions and save hours of your study time. So stay tuned till the end of this video and don't forget to subscribe. So, in UGC NET English exam, the topics that are frequently asked have been divided into two broad categories: literature and literary criticism. Within literature, there are frequently asked questions related to certain important ages, proses, non-fiction, important literary figures. And when it comes to literary criticism, questions are asked related to the critiques, some of the most important theories. Now, we are going to discuss these questions in detail. Talking about the important literary figures, one of the most important literary figure who is repeatedly asked in UGC NET English exam is Geoffrey Chaucer. Geoffrey Chaucer's masterpiece, as you already know, is the Canterbury Tales. Take any UGC NET English paper and you will realize that at least one question is asked related to Geoffrey Chaucer or the Canterbury Tales. A question like this, which was asked in 2019 paper: which of the following tales in Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales deals with the murder of a child by Jews? The answer is simple. It is the Prioress's Tale. A question like this can also be asked: what is it that Chaucer focuses on in the depiction of the wife of Bath in the Canterbury Tales? The answer is simple again. It is defiance. A lot of times, questions related to the Canterbury Tales are asked pertaining to the characters within the Canterbury Tales. So it is of utmost importance that before you appear for your UGC NET English exam, you at least acquaint yourself with the characters, the kind of tales that they have said, and their characteristics. Apart from the Canterbury Tales, you also need to at least know that Geoffrey Chaucer has written other works like the Parliament of Fowls or the Book of Duchess and stuff like that. Apart from Geoffrey Chaucer, other important literary figure who is frequently asked in UGC NET English exam is William Shakespeare. Similar to Chaucer, you will find in the past papers that at least one question is asked related to William Shakespeare. Now, as you can see over here, that a question related to William Shakespeare was asked in 2022 pertaining to the tragedies he has written and the years in which they were published. So, Hamlet was published in 1600, Macbeth was published in 1606, Julius Caesar in 1599, and Othello in 1604. Now guys, when it comes to William Shakespeare, one of the most difficulties that a lot of UGC NET English aspirants face is that Shakespeare has written 154 sonnets and some 38 plays. How are we supposed to remember the years, the plot points, or even the characters for that matter? So, to save you the trouble and save you hours of your study time, I have created a video on how you can approach William Shakespeare. So there are different kinds of questions asked when it comes to Shakespeare. Questions related to the quotes, facts, or anything related to the characters. It is a very comprehensive video which will help you in understanding how you should approach and how you should prepare for William Shakespeare when it comes to UGC NET English exam. The next important literary figure who is frequently asked in UGC NET English exam is Charles Dickens. He's one of the most important writers of the Victorian age, not just because he talked about the socio-cultural realities of the time, no, but also because he was one of the ardent practitioners of serialized novels, the novels that were published in installments. So, a question related to Charles Dickens and his novels was asked in 2019, talking about the chronology of the novel's characters. So, how did they appear? So, for that, you first need to understand the characters and where do they appear, in which novel do they appear. So for example, Mr. Bounderby is from Hard Times, David Copperfield is from David Copperfield, Mrs. Mann is from Oliver Twist, and Nathaniel Winkle from Pickwick Papers. Now if you understand the chronology of Charles Dickens' novels, you have got the answer right in front of you. The first novel published by Charles Dickens is the Pickwick Papers, and Nathaniel Winkle is from Pickwick Papers, so the first character will be Nathaniel Winkle. Pickwick Papers was followed by Oliver Twist. Mrs. Mann is from Oliver Twist. Oliver Twist was followed by David Copperfield, and that was followed by Hard Times. So the correct answer is Nathaniel Winkle, Mrs. Mann, David Copperfield, and Mr. Bounderby. Answer is C. Moving on to the next topic, we have non-fiction. Within non-fiction also, most of the questions that are repeatedly asked are related to literary periodicals. Literary periodicals emerged in the 18th as well as the 19th century. They are extremely important because of the impact they have had on fiction and other forms of literature. So a question related to 19th century periodicals was asked in 2020, talking about the chronological order of their publication. The correct chronological order begins with The Spectator, which was started by Joseph Addison and Richard Steele, followed by the Edinburgh Review, followed by the Quarterly Review, and the London Magazine. Another question related to literary periodicals was asked in 2019, talking about the writers, the primary writers or the contributors to these magazines. So the Rambler is definitely associated with Samuel Johnson. Macmillan's magazine is associated with David Mason. The Guardian is associated with Richard Steele, and Bentley's magazine is associated with Charles Dickens. Now, if you want to have a comprehensive understanding of 18th and 19th century literary periodicals, when they were established, by whom and who were their primary contributors, you can check out my video on literary periodicals. Having said that, let's move on to the important age, which is the modern age. Questions related to modern age are frequently asked in UGC NET English Exam, and these questions can be divided into two categories. The first are the questions that are asked related to the modernist drama. We all know that there are different types of modernist dramas, including theatre of absurd, kitchen sink drama, or angry young men theatre, or for that matter, the epic theatre. So a question related to kitchen sink drama was asked in 2023, asking who were the primary contributors to this type of modernist drama movement. These were John Osborne, Arnold Wesker, Sheila Delaney, and John Arden. The right answer is option A. Now friends, if you want to have a clear understanding of what kitchen sink drama is, or for that matter theatre of absurd, you can check out my video on types of modernist drama. Any video that I am talking about right now while discussing these past papers and these questions, I will attach their links in the description box below. So once you're done with this video, you can check out other videos which will act as a revision for you and help you gain a comprehensive understanding. So the first category was the questions related to the modernist drama. The second category is the question related to the important writers. We know that in modern age, some of the most important writers are James Joyce, D.H. Lawrence, Virginia Woolf, and T.S. Eliot. Questions related to James Joyce can be related to his interesting facts about his works. Question related to D.H. Lawrence could be from the chronology of his works. A question related to Virginia Woolf can be related to her characters. But when it comes to T.S. Eliot, questions might be a little bit different because we know that he's not just a writer. He's also a dramatist, a poet, as well as a critic. So for that, we need to understand his important works. One of his most important works is the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, and a question related to that was asked in 2019, which talked about that in Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, who among the following painters is the subject of conversation among the perambulating women? The answer is simple. It is Michelangelo. And his other important work is The Wasteland. I have given a comprehensive summary and analysis of T.S. Eliot's Wasteland in another video of mine, whose link I have attached in the description box below. So please do check it out, because that will help you clear all your doubts related to T.S. Eliot's works. Moving on to the next topic, we have Indian English literature. Now, a lot of students face this difficulty as to what should they cover within Indian English literature, which works should they cover, which authors should they cover. So the first thing that I would tell you is that when I was going through the past papers, I realized that a significant amount of questions are asked related to the post-independence era. So my advice to you would be focus upon the writers, the texts that belong to the post-independence era. And within the post-independence era, also focus upon Dalit literature. Focus upon Dalit Panthers movement. Who are the major writers during that point of time? So a question in 2014 was asked related to Juthan by Om Prakash Valmiki, asking about the genre. The genre is simple. It is an autobiography. Apart from Dalit literature, you need to focus more upon the contemporary writers like Amitav Ghosh. A lot of questions are frequently asked related to Amitav Ghosh's works, be it the chronology of his works, the years in which they published, or the characters. So a question was asked related to Amitav Ghosh's Ibis trilogy in 2022, asking which of the following works is not a part of Ibis trilogy. So Ibis trilogy consists of Sea of Poppies, River of Smoke, and Flood of Fire. The Calcutta Chromosome is a completely separate novel that was published in 1995. Having discussed some of the most frequently asked questions related to the category of literature, let's move on to the next category, which is literary criticism. A significant portion of the paper is dedicated to important theories. The first important theory, which is repeatedly asked in UGC NET English Exam, is cultural studies. A question related to cultural studies was asked in 2021, talking about the center which was set up for studying culture at the University of Birmingham. The answer is Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies. Why is this center or the establishment of this center so important? It is because that after the establishment of this particular center, there are a lot of development happened in cultural studies. And one of the most important critiques associated with cultural studies is Stuart Hall, and the other one is Raymond Williams. The next important literary theory, which is again frequently asked, is feminist literary criticism. A question related to a feminist literary critique was asked in 2016, which says, according to Julia Kristeva, it is the eruption of the blank within the blank that provides the creative and innovative impulse of modern poetic language. The answer is semiotic and symbolic. Now, Julia Kristeva is largely known for these ideas. She is largely known for providing the differences between semiotic and symbolic, which are aspects of language interdependent on each other. According to Julia Kristeva, semiotic refers to the pre-linguistic aspect of language that is carried forward from infancy. We must have seen a lot of children, a lot of infants engaging in gibberish language. They are blabbering something or the other that we are not able to make sense of. This is what Julia Kristeva has called semiotic. And a part of this semiotic is carried forward in our adulthood in terms of the rhythm, the tone of our speech. And she largely associates the semiotic with the matriarchal relationship between a mother and a child. Symbolic, on the other hand, is what she calls as the language that we speak, governed by grammatical and syntactical rules, wherein we observe a certain sort of law, prohibition, wherein the language that we are speaking right now, it is governed by a structure. And she associates that with a more patriarchal or a paternal relationship between a father and a child. Apart from Julia Kristeva, a lot of questions are asked in feminist literary criticism related to Elaine Showalter. We know Elaine Showalter provided the term of gynocriticism, which refers to the production and analysis of texts written by women. But apart from that, she has also talked about women's writings in terms of stages. So, a question related to this was asked in 2022, describing the three phases, asking that what are these three phases? The first is the feminine phase, followed by a feminist phase, followed by a female phase. Feminine phase is talking about where the women writers imitated the male writers. Feminist phase is wherein they rebelled against the patriarchal attitudes. And female phase is wherein they're trying to find out their own voices and identities. Moving on to the next important literary theory, we have post-colonial criticism. Now, post-colonial criticism is again very important from UGC NET English exam because a lot of questions are repeatedly asked related to the post-colonial theorists and some of the most important terms associated with them. So a question related to them was asked in 2022, which said, identify the post-colonial critiques who use the ideas of Lacan, Foucault and Derrida while critiquing Eurocentrism. Eurocentrism basically refers to the concept wherein Europe or the Western civilization thinks that their beliefs, their ideas, and their opinions and their way of being are more superior to other countries. Right? And the writers, the critics who criticized this were Homi K. Bhabha, who is known for Nation and Narration, Gayatri Chakraborty Spivak, who is known for her most seminal essay, Can the Subaltern Speak, and Edward Said, who is known for his work, Orientalism. Apart from these important theories, some of the most important literary theorists and critiques are also repeatedly asked in UGC NET English exam. For example, you have Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Just look at the past papers and you will realize that questions related to Ngugi wa Thiong'o and his most important work are repeatedly asked. So a question was asked in 2021 saying, with which of these Ngugi wa Thiong'o is generally associated? The answer is Decolonizing the Mind, which was published in 1986. Ngugi wa Thiong'o is also one of the most important post-colonial critiques, and this work, Decolonizing the Mind, talks about the psychological impact of colonization, something which he has called as colonial hangover, wherein even after colonization, we are enslaved by mind to the Western opinions, beliefs, and the ways of being. The next important critique who is frequently asked is Fredric Jameson. Fredric Jameson is largely associated with the Marxist school of thought, and a question related to him is asked in 2019 and in subsequent years, which said, who among the following theorists believes that the proliferation of television images is producing a cultural condition akin to historical amnesia? First, let us break down what is historical amnesia. As it is said over here, it is a cultural condition wherein the cultural artifacts produced in the historical past, they have been reduced down to commercialization, wherein they have been co-modified. Something that he has called as pastiche, wherein the products are repeated in the present, but they do not have the same kind of value and cultural reverence that it had in the past. And this concept was provided by Fredric Jameson. It was quite similar to what Jean Baudrillard has talked about simulacra and simulation. Apart from these critiques and theorists, there are other two important literary theories which are frequently asked in UGC NET English exam. The first one is structuralism. Take any UGC NET English paper and you will find a question related to Ferdinand de Saussure or his concepts of Langue and parole. This question was asked in 2024 itself, talking about the definitions of langue and parole. Langue basically refers to the grammatical and the syntactical rules of language, whereas parole is the spoken language, the language that we speak on a daily basis. Other important theory which is frequently asked is post-structuralism. Within post-structuralism also, there are various questions asked related to Michel Foucault. Now, this question was asked in 2022. The first statement reads, according to Michel Foucault, the French Revolution created grounds for the birth of the clinic. True. Statement 2 reads, Foucault mentions that the doctors started caring for the body of the patients the way priests cared for the soul of the sinners. The second statement is also true. Having covered the most important topics and categories which are frequently asked in UGC NET English exam, here are some tips and strategies which would help you in approaching on the day of your exam. Remember, we talked about the important literary figures like Chaucer, Shakespeare and Charles Dickens, and we discussed how most of the times important questions are asked related to the characters of their works. So how are you going to approach that? Make a list. It is impossible to remember every plot line of the novels of Charles Dickens or for that matter the drama of Shakespeare. But what you can do is make a list of each character within the novels written by Charles Dickens or within the dramas written by Shakespeare. With that, at least you will remember not just the chronology of these works, but you will also remember that which character is present within which novel or drama for that matter. Next important strategy is learn about the important literary terms. For example, Alice Walker has provided the term of womenism, which talks about the criticism in the texts produced by women of color. Similarly, Aimé Césaire and other writers during that point of time gave the term negritude. So acquaint yourself with these important literary terms because they are also frequently asked in UGC NET English exam. The next important strategy is acquaint yourself with world literature. If you look at the past papers, you will realize that questions are frequently coming up from various other literatures like Russian literature, Latin American literature, and stuff like that. So acquaint yourself with the important writers within those kind of literatures. For example, within Russian literature, important writers are Leo Tolstoy, Fyodor Dostoevsky, and all. Within Latin American literature, you have Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude. So similarly, acquaint yourself with other kinds of literatures as well. And the last tip for today is learn the pseudonyms and the real names of the authors. If not all, at least some of the most important ones. I have done an entire video on the pen names and pseudonyms of these authors, whose link I've attached in the description box below, so don't forget to check it out. Now, these were some of the most important tips and strategies which will help you while you are revising for your UGC NET English exam. But if you still feel very confused and you want some clarity, you can check out my courses here. So in these courses, you can check out my 1-hour masterclasses. For example, my 1-hour masterclass on Indian English literature, wherein in just 1 hour, I'll walk you through some of the most important authors, writers, dramatists of all the ages in Indian English literature. At the same time, some of the most important texts with the primary focus on the post-independence era. The best part about this 1-hour masterclass is that these are live one-on-one sessions, which means that I can provide you personalized guidance tailored to your needs and requirements. We can engage in interactive learning where I can practice and test your knowledge through mock quizzes and help you in your revision process with UGC NET English exam just round the corner. You can check out my other courses on my TopMate page, wherein I have not just covered Indian English literature but also literary criticism and British literary period breakdown, wherein in these 1-hour masterclasses you can get a comprehensive understanding of periods and the important concepts and works. So you can check out my other courses, and if you have any questions or if you want to provide any feedback, please mention it in the comments section below.
That's it for today's video, folks. If you found this video on the frequently asked questions in UGC NET English exam informative and helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And yes, all the best, guys, for your UGC NET English exam in January. You've got this and you're going to make it.